The time is 11:45, and you're tuned in to the mid-morning talk with me, Fazila Isaac, on Salam Media. This is the exciting segment, the one I look forward to all of the time, where we speak to our Hitler's guest, which is people making waves in South Africa. With us today, we have the director at Mama Kia, who is Sicelo Mabuza. Now, Sicelo is a jack of all trades. His Mama Kia brand crafts and sells hand woven shoes and accessories. Very different to what you would actually see in the regular stores. Now, Sicelo, he's also director of Homegrown Chinese, which is a commercial fashion retail and collaboration platform. And this has many of the local brands in his store as well. Doesn't only stop there, he also owns a visual content creation company that is called Unrecognized Art. And there he creates a videography and photography as well. So definitely a legend in the game. Sicelo, thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Fazila. Thank you so much for having me as well.
More than welcome. So let's start with you. Who is Sicelo? Give us some background into you.
As you said, I'm Sicelo Mabuza. I'm just a young or a youth from the East Rand. So I'm from Posloras, that's where I was, brought. But originally, I'm from Pumalanga. That's where my origin is at. Also in KZN, that's where my original roots are coming from. So then we came here in Joburg, of course, in the East Rand. That's where the whole character and who Stelo is was built. And later, I went to varsity at UJ, University of Johannesburg. That's when I shifted my life to Johannesburg. Currently, I'm situated in Johannesburg, and ever since moved into varsity, that's when like I established myself, in Johannesburg and ventured into new avenues, testing myself because I used to be a person who loves selling a lot, from selling books, sweets, until I developed this career trades where now I started, venturing into different things until I found my feet. As you say, today we have these multiple brands that we are running, and they're all given to birth as soon as I touch ground here in Johannesburg.
Amazing. So, where do your inspiration come from to actually start designing and be a creative? Because, like I said, your shoes are quite different to what I've seen. You have hand woven shoes, knitted shoes. So, where does your inspiration come from to actually start being a creative?
So with the Mama Kia shoes, so what happened was back in 2015, yes, we started a brand called Bugataki. It's an online magazine. So we started an online magazine called Bugataki, and there we used to do research about the history, ancient history of Africa. The history that was not easily accessible in commercial platforms. So then, upon doing research on black-owned businesses that we used to be, that gave birth to what we have today, and also celebrate all across this ancient technique of weaving products, which is crochet, and we also realized that, ancient African used to have this skill of weaving shoes, and this skill they used to transfer it from generation to generation. And it wasn't only the skill, including the textile skill. It's something that Africans used to have, as you could see, maybe like young teenagers in the township, they have this skill of, braiding or just tying things, which it dates back to the weaving history of African. So when we stumble across this skill, we realize that these are dying skills in South Africa and also Africa as a whole. And there's only few elders that are left with the skill. And then when we identified these elders, we said we wanted to create a brand that will be an integration of the young and old, and also preserving this skill that is dying, so that we can showcase the Afrocentric skills to the world. Then we started the brand called Mama Kia. With us as young people, we said, you know what, we have this multiple talents. We know how to market, we know how to create content, we know how to run businesses, and all people have this, hand skills that we need as young people, since jobs are scarce nowadays. So then we integrated these two forces, and then created this wonderful brand called Mama Kia. So today, we have designed a lot of, designs that are rooted from African culture, because our designs are coming from African cultures, Pan-African, Pan-Africanism, and also they come from nature, tribes. So we would check like coessence and see the color synergy, and then we fused it into our designs. We check nature, because Africa is rich with nature. We take that and fuse it in our design. The minerals that we have, we celebrate that into our design. And that's why Mama Kia is such a wonderful brand.
This is exactly why I love speaking to entrepreneurs, because there's so many dimensions to the work that entrepreneurs do. You didn't just take a brand and make it a brand. You took the history of the country, history of certain people. You also took talent development, skills development, and you just married it all. I must commend you for that brilliant work. Homegrown Shanties, you brought a collaboration of designers as well. Tell us about Homegrown Shanties.
Yes. So Homegrown Chinese is our new baby that we created back in 2018. So when we created Homegrown Chinese, I remember um, back in the days we used to hear about collaboration this, collaboration that, but it was unfortunate for us because we didn't have brands that we could fall back on and reference, case studies that were feasible to us, that would say, there are brands in the township, that are created by our own people, that we can reference and say they're creating this wonderful thing called collaboration. It was something that was scarce, but it was discussed all over media, and everywhere, but it wasn't really feasible for us. And I remember one of our member, Dr. Kulanus Kosana, so he's a writer. So he wrote this wonderful article called Ubuntu Collaboration, and he explained this wonderful idea where people from the township, black people, would come together, and share resources, for the greater good of their businesses. And then we were like, what, we wanted to test this theory because I mean, we have like real life problems, like we can't afford to pay rent, as small businesses that are disadvantaged coming from the townships. We can't afford, services like marketing, we can't afford services like finance. There are a lot of services as young local brands that we can't afford, and unfortunately we have beautiful ideas, but these businesses die because of lack of funds, lack of access to information. So we're like, let us create a brand that will test this business model, this concept of collaboration. But the feasible thing that we could do, because we already have brands that are creating products like Mamaki was already creating products, the shoes and the accessories. We also have Pex Lifestyle creates iconic products, footwear and apparel from this iconic blanket, from the Basutu clan, and we also had African timepieces creating timepieces from our own history, and then we said, what, let us tie forces and see what we can do in the retail, commercial retail industry. And then we created this business model that will test, this collaboration thing, where we would cut our costs and share everything. When we get opportunities, we make sure we trickle down the benefits to everyone. So we tested that for like 2 years, and then we gathered enough information. Unfortunately, during 2020 we lost our first store, but when we came back after that, we were then, with enough information. We also accommodated other brands before we opened up for other brands. We had Be Brave as part of Homegrown Chinese as another pillar that makes Homegrown Chinese, and Be Brave is in the event space. So now we had these wonderful brands that is trying to fill in different industries as a way of creating a value chain. So we can't complain about distributing our product. We can't complain about getting access to market. We can't complain about giving marketing services. And then we created this wonderful business model where we say now when we get a store, can we open up to more brands that will lease and shelf into our store and pay for shelf, and when we sell we take the commission. So currently we have about 10 brands that are selling in our store, and these are local brands that are creating products from their homes, from their own township, from their small scale, and we give them visible information so that they can expand. So this is just Homegrown Chinese in a nutshell.
I love the fact that you don't just have the creative side down, you actually have the business side down to the T as well. Your model is absolutely impressive. I can tell you know exactly what you're talking about. You've done the research, you've put in the work, and now you're going to reap the benefits of this. Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. Coming to that, tell us something interesting about yourself that nobody knows.
Uh, yeah, that's quite tricky. I think the interesting thing about myself is that, I'm someone who can easily learn a lot of skills, as long as I can put my mind into it. Because most of the things that I'm currently doing, to be honest, it's not as if I went to school for them. These are just skills that are just acquired along the way for the sake of interest, because when we look into my academic records, you'd realize that I'm from the science industry. But now in life, I ventured into something new because of interest. I just followed my own instinct, as like I love business. Let me just learn entrepreneurship. I love creativity. I love creating videos. I want to tell stories. So I always acquire this information. I don't know how, but it happens.
Skills development, you develop your own skills. You know what is I really, really love about everything that you're saying is that you didn't wait for opportunities to come to you. You've taken those opportunities. You went out there, you've learned about things that are going to make you money to start with, things that are going to develop you as a person, things that are going to build a brand for you as well. And the fact that you haven't just stopped at one thing, some people have this thing that, what, this is what I'm going to do and I'm sticking to this. Yes, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's also important to be multifaceted as well. Because if you have different avenues, then it can come to a point where something like COVID hits you and then you are down. If you have different avenues, okay, this is not working because of COVID. Okay, let me go to that. You still have things to fall back on. And, for an entrepreneur, the less stress you have, the better it is for you to run your business because then you can concentrate on so many different things when it comes to growing and developing your business. That is just something that is so interesting about you, is that you didn't just stick to one avenue. You moved it, so you know exactly what you are doing. Absolutely brilliant. I'm really impressed by you. I must say that.
Thank you so much.
Really,
Thank
really.
you.
What is your favorite part about being an entrepreneur?
The favorite part about being an entrepreneur, I think, so sorry, there's a phone call. All right. The favorite part for me about being an entrepreneur is the fact that I get to acquire a lot of information, because I've realized one thing: whenever I meet other entrepreneurs, they have like a lot of information that I cannot really access in a comfortable space or wherever I could be, except for being in the entrepreneurship industry. And I realized that this is kind of expensive information. On a random day, you'd have to pay a lot of money to acquire this information, but in entrepreneurship, you tend to access this whole lot of rich information that enriches you as a person. And we grow. I mean, I've learned, like, besides learning, like, I've developed as a person, things, basic skills like discipline, how to manage yourself as a person. There are a lot of traits that I ended up cutting off, in my life, because I've realized that this entrepreneurship thing needs me to be sober. It needs me to be disciplined. It needs me to know what is it that I'm doing. So it also narrows down, my I don't know what to call it, my social network, except for the people who can bring value into my life. So that's what I appreciate about entrepreneurship. It really channels you into a certain direction that in a normal day you wouldn't. So we tend to have now this understanding of life, and sometimes we even assume that everyone should think the way we think, just because we have this access to this space where we can talk a specific language, and it grows our mind. So that's what I love about entrepreneurship.
Knowledge is power. Knowledge is absolutely power. There's so much, and when you understand what you are doing, when you understand the businesses that you are starting, there's no other place but right up to go from there. And you did mention discipline, and I know when it comes to businesses, motivation is like 10%. The rest of the 90% is discipline and hard work, putting in the work into getting there. It's nice to be motivated. No one's saying it's not. You have to get motivated to start, but the rest of it actually comes from discipline and hard work. So, where to from here for Sicelo? Where to from here for your
Um,
brand, for you as a person?
so yeah, to tell you the honest truth, I think we have built so much. We have created a lot of business models, and we have tested them, so much that we ended up saying this is where we have ended up, like we have a commercial store now in Newtown Junction, that needs to grow. We now have Mama Kia that has, this wonderful product. It needs to hit the international market. Now I've started a venture of filmmaking on unrecognized art. So I feel these are the three spaces that we need to touch, as a homegrown Chinese as a whole. So there's nothing new for us except for just expanding, what we already built. Like for now, we just need to grow our store in a sense that it can have a broader audience. People need to come into our store. That's our plan, because we also have other babies under homegrown Chinese, like the playground store that we've created during COVID-19, and we did a campaign for it, where we're trying to expand homegrown Chinese and make sure it reaches, the township or other people in the township that have the business acumen but don't know where to start, So we just say we can go on a JV where you own at least 50% of that particular store, and then we get to manage. It's more like a franchise, but fortunately enough, you don't have to pay your royalties, and plus you get to own 50% of whatever that we bring into the space that is suitable for your business, So also we have been running a crowdfunding, and unfortunately today it's our last day. We've been knocking on doors, asking people to donate on our crowdfunding, because what we realized at the store when we sell these products for these local brands, there are a lot of things that they still need to do. As I've said, knowledge and information is not easy to access. So when we have a store like Homegrown Chinese, we get feasible customers that will come in and give us feedback and say, what, these products, they need improvement on this. How about you bring us this and that and that? And we compile all of this data and bring it back to this brand. So we've realized that they are still struggling with production. They're still struggling with some of the minor details. And when we say, let us create this crowdfunding campaign and raise funds so that we can share with these 10 brands, where we could now do like purchase orders. Because when we stock basic product like heads, it's some sort of a funding for them, to say, okay, I can produce, but also it keeps my business running. Homegrown Chinese doesn't have to worry about stock. It's always healthy with stock. So the crowdfunding has been moving, and people were donating, fortunately enough. And today is our last day. That's one of our plans that is under pipeline. So as I've said, there's nothing new except for whatever that we have created. under Homegrown Chinese, and Homegrown Chinese will benefit all of these brands that I've just mentioned, you know. So yeah, I would say if there is anything, any support that we would get, it should be under probably, you know, the playground store or the crowdfunding campaign. It will also assist in developing these other brands like your Mama Kia, your Pax Lifestyle, unrecognized arts, and etc.
Great stuff. And you say your store is in Newtown. Where in Newtown is it situated?
So we are situated in Newtown Junction Mall. Inside the mall, first floor. So when you go by the cinema, you there are stores just there. So our store is called Homegrown Chinese. You should see it by the glass. The branding is just visible enough. It's Homegrown Chinese. We buy the first floor by the cinema. So yeah, as soon as you in Newtown, you can't miss it. And also look for the poster spaces. There's also home credentials posters there. It will give you like information in terms of, you know, probably if you need to call someone if you're getting lost into the mall, or you know, wanting to get more details about where we are situated, you should see that. Yeah, but we are at the Newtown Junction Mall in Johannesburg.
Great stuff. So, Celo, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're so busy. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you. I'm sure our listeners absolutely enjoyed that as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the
Have a
opportunity.
You more than welcome. More than welcome. Have a good day further.
Thank you, you too. Bye.
Bye. That was the impressive Sicelo Mabuza, the director of Homegrown Shandies. You want to see his clothing? Go to Homegrown Shandies at Newtown in Johannesburg, or you can check the Instagram pages, Mama Kia, Homegrown Shandies. You'll be able to check his stuff. So we're just going to take a quick ad break, and when we return, we'll be speaking to Shuhaida Adam of Islamic Care Line. Stay tuned.